Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to the final part of our series of videos focusing on people who were wrongfully convicted for crimes committed by serial killers. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, be sure to check those out first. We'll leave a link in the description below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this. It really helps us to continue building the channel. With that out of the way, here is part 3 of 3 more people wrongfully convicted for the crimes of serial killers. On the night of February 24th, 1976, 19-year-old Michelle Mitchell left her home in northwest Reno, Nevada, to run a quick errand. The sophomore nursing student was taking some orange juice to her diabetic father, who was at a nearby bowling alley approximately 3 miles east of the University of Nevada campus where she attended school. However, just a few minutes after Michelle left the house, she called her mother to tell her that her Volkswagen Beetle had broken down on Evans Avenue near 9th Street at the southern end of the university campus. The call was made from a phone booth across the street at the university's Fleshman Agriculture Building at 8:11 p.m. Michelle's mother told her to wait for her and that she would drive right over to help. But when she arrived, she could not find Michelle anywhere. It was clear that the teenager had been there just minutes before. Her car was in a parking lot on the opposite side of the street from where she had made the phone call, and the orange juice that she was taking for her father was still inside the vehicle. After making the troubling discovery, Michelle's mother drove over to the bowling alley to inform her husband. They searched together for a little while, then notified the university police, as the crime had taken place close to the campus. By 9:45 p.m., they too had failed to locate Michelle, and the Reno Police Department was contacted. Though they began to look for the missing teenager immediately, the search would come to an abrupt end a little more than an hour later. At approximately 11:05 p.m., a married couple returned home from a night out. Their property was located on 9th Street, just a short walk from the parking lot where Michelle's car had been found. When the husband opened the garage of his home to park the car, he and his wife made a horrifying discovery. Michelle's lifeless body was lying on the dirt floor of the garage in a pool of blood. Her hands had been tightly bound behind her back, and her throat had been slit. The murder sent shockwaves through the local community. Michelle had no known enemies, nor was there anyone in her life, like a previous boyfriend, to suggest that the case could have been a crime of passion. Michelle's purse and valuables were also found with her body, ruling out robbery as a motive. The killing seemed to be totally random, and it happened in a terrifyingly short window of time. To make matters worse, the Michelle Mitchell case had been the third knife attack in Reno in a period of just 4 days. One of the attacks had resulted in the death of a casino worker and waitress named Peggy Davis. The other victim, a sex worker, had survived. Though the motives and the details of the crimes were completely different, and police were convinced that they were dealing with 3 distinct perpetrators, fear about the crimes led to unfounded rumors that Reno was dealing with a serial killer. In the meantime, police scrambled to find answers, particularly in Michelle's case. As tips started to come in from witnesses, investigators began to interview people that had been seen close to the area of the murder around the time of Michelle's disappearance. A man came forward and claimed that he had helped Michelle push her car out of the street where it had broken down and into the parking lot, but that he had left her right after as she waited for her mother. The man was cleared of any involvement in the murder. A couple that was seen hugging near the scene around the time of the murder was also tracked down and identified, but they were similarly cleared of suspicion. The most promising lead that came in had to do with a young man that was seen running from the area on the night of the murder. Multiple witnesses had seen the man, and police released a drawing of him based on their descriptions, saying that he was wanted for questioning. Just days later, police also announced that they were bringing on a popular mentalist and magician to assist with the case, named the Amazing Kreskin. Kreskin had reportedly assisted with numerous criminal cases in the years prior, and supposedly specialized in helping witnesses uncover details from their memories that they didn't know were there. Kreskin helped police interview multiple witnesses in the case, leading to an updated drawing of the suspect being released at the end of March. Additional details about the unknown suspect were also released. He was described as a long-haired male in his early 20s, with sandy brown hair, standing approximately 5 feet 11 inches tall. Witnesses said the man looked dirty and unhealthy. At first, it seemed like this would be the break in the case that police were waiting for, as the new sketch generated 100 leads within a few days. However, by mid-April, it was clear that the investigation had hit a dead end, and the case began to go cold. It would stay that way for almost 3 years. In March of 1979, the case took a strange turn when the local press announced, seemingly out of the blue, that a confession had been made in Michelle's murder. The suspect was a 29-year-old woman named Kathy Woods, who suffered from schizophrenia and who at the time had been forcibly confined to a psychiatric institution in Louisiana. Investigators in Reno had been contacted by a nurse at the facility named Linda Whatley, who told them that Kathy had confessed to her that she had murdered a woman named Michelle near a Reno university years earlier. Whatley said that Kathy claimed she had been told by Satan to kill, and that she had also committed the crime because Michelle had refused her sexual advances. When police questioned Kathy at the psychiatric institution, she reiterated the same details, though did not provide police with any information that had not been widely reported by the press. However, she did live in Reno at the time, and was known to have shoulder-length hair and glasses, so they believed that she could have been the perpetrator they were looking for. Based on these facts, and armed with a confession, investigators charged Kathy with Michelle's murder. In November of that year, a hearing was held to determine if Kathy was fit to stand trial due to her significant mental health issues. A judge ordered that she was, despite arguments from her public defender that her rights had been violated because her psychiatric condition meant that she was not mentally fit to waive her rights to an attorney during questioning, and that she had also not been adequately informed of these rights. At trial, the prosecution relied almost entirely on Kathy's confession, saying that she had lured Michelle to the garage where she was killed under the guise of having tools to fix her car, and then murdered her when she refused her sexual advances. The defense, meanwhile, tried to introduce a different theory of the case, involving the murder of waitress Peggy Davis that had happened just days before Michelle was killed. By this time, that case had been solved, and was found to be a contract killing for which several people had been convicted. One of those people was a topless dancer at the bar where Peggy worked, named Ray Wood. The defense sought to introduce the testimony of an inmate named Kathy Murnigan, who told them that Ray Wood had confessed to her that her boyfriend and accomplice, Tony Lima, had killed Michelle Mitchell. According to Murnigan, the crime had been committed to distract police from the Peggy Davis investigation, as an attempt to convince them that a serial killer was loose in Reno and that they were responsible. Despite the new developments, Tony Lina and Ray Wood were only questioned as part of evidentiary hearings outside the presence of a jury, and both denied any involvement in the case. The judge later barred Murnigan from testifying at the trial because he said he considered her an unreliable witness. In early December 1980, Kathy Woods was convicted of the murder of Michelle Mitchell and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Though this decision was appealed and Kathy won a new trial in 1985 on the basis that Murnigan should have been allowed to testify, she was again convicted of the murder and received the same penalty. It would be almost 3 decades before Kathy Woods would have another shot at proving her innocence. In 2013, Kathy reached out to the Rocky Mountain Innocence Center, which handles wrongful conviction cases in Utah, Nevada, and Wyoming. With the help of another inmate, she was able to get in touch with the organization to request DNA testing in her case, in the hopes that it would uncover exculpatory evidence. The primary item of interest was a cigarette butt, which had been recovered next to Michelle Mitchell's body back in 1976. Because the investigation and both of Kathy's trials had happened before the use of DNA in forensics, the cigarette had never been tested. In the fall of 2013, DNA on the cigarette was found not to be a match to Kathy Woods, and instead identified an unknown male profile. The DNA was sent to the FBI's federal database, where less than a year later, a match was discovered to a man named Rodney Halbauer. Halbauer had an extensive criminal history dating back to at least 1975, where he had been arrested for the rape of a Reno blackjack dealer. Michelle's murder had happened at the same time that Halbauer was out on bond for that case. Over the next decade, he would escape from jail numerous times and would attack several more women. Around the same time that DNA evidence was tested in the Michelle Mitchell case, similar evidence linked Halbauer to the unsolved murders of two teenage girls in California, named Veronica Cascio and Paula Baxter. The girls were part of a group of 5 female victims in what had come to be known as the Gypsy Hill Killings. Based on the new DNA evidence, Kathy Woods' conviction was vacated in September of 2014, and she was released from prison while she awaited a new trial. At the time of her release, she had been incarcerated for 35 years and was the longest-serving female inmate in the United States to be wrongfully convicted of a crime. In March of 2015, the charges against Kathy were officially dismissed. Just over a year after the charges were dropped, she filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Reno, as well as several key public officials who were involved in her wrongful conviction, and a doctor who had treated her at the psychiatric institution in Louisiana. In 2020, she received $3 million from the city of Reno and $2.85 million from the state of Nevada. Rodney Halbauer was convicted of the murders of Veronica Cascio and Paula Baxter in 2018, but it is believed that he killed at least 2 other Gypsy Hill victims for which he has yet to be prosecuted. The most current information we could find on the Michelle Mitchell case was from the end of 2020 and suggested that Halbauer will eventually stand trial for her murder, though it remains unclear exactly when. That brings us to the end of our list. Do you know of any other cases like this that you think we should check out? Tell us about them in the comments section below. As always, if you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.